We can talk to God all the way to translation or even on public transportation. Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Sabbath School Study Group. My name is Chris Bailey. This is part number 2 of our 5-part series, Prayer Warriors, the experience of prayer in our journey to have a living relationship with God. I love the story of Enoch because he's an example of what's possible. But in looking at all that he was able to experience, obviously the greatest gift, he was translated. He did not see death. Let's not look so far down the end of his road because his road had no end, but as to the road that he traveled. And that experience was clearly something that happens not after translation, but this was a relationship that he had before translation. In fact, it was the relationship that actually leads into his translation. Brothers and sisters, don't think that it can be any less for you or for me. Because what does the Bible say? The Bible encourages us in Romans chapter 12, verse 12, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, and continuing instant in prayer. This was an admonition not to an Old Testament Enoch, but this is the New Testament church, even to the church at Rome, in the belly of the beast. Hey, there's a call to pray, to be instant, to have a continuation of a communication that God says, you know what? This call is so good. I don't mind that it's collect, but let's do something even better. Why don't you just come on home with me? Because you're closer to where I am than where you were. Now, the idea of how we can walk with God all the way to translation and even on public transportation, what am I talking about? Let's go back to the Bible. Genesis chapter 5, verse number 22. Here's his testimony. And Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years and begat sons and daughters. Now, we mentioned Methuselah probably because he was the oldest man to ever live on record. But not only does Enoch have Methuselah, but he has other sons and other daughters. But most importantly, while he's being a husband, while he's being a father, Enoch walked with God. So even in the in and out and the up and down and the left and right of life, Enoch was going through all of that with his maker. He had communication with his creator. Again, it was not something that happens after pearly gates. It's something that happened on cobbled streets. In fact, he probably didn't have cobbled streets. I don't know. On the dirt roads, the cobbled streets, or the asphalts, or whatever it was before the flood happened, Enoch was there with his Lord. So he's walking and talking with God on public transportation, if you will, but even the translation. Because Genesis 5:23 says all the days of Enoch were 365 years, which is kind of prophetic if you think about it. And Enoch walked with God and he was not, for God took him. He just so happens to walk the earth for 365 years, while we have 365 days in a year. It's God is such a poet that this brother would have an experience every year for every day of our year, showing us that in a daily walk, we can walk with God. And if we are alive when Jesus comes, which is a very real possibility, to be a part of the 144,000, the 144,000 in another way, it's 144,000 types of Enochs. And I'm grateful that I don't believe that that's a literal number. I believe it's symbolic because there's 12,000 folks from every tribe in Israel that are mentioned there in Revelation. But some of those tribes in Revelation were not tribes in actual Israel. So God is speaking prophetically that there are going to be people who are having such a walk and such a good time with God that he says, you know what? I'm going to let you just come on and walk into glory. It's good to know that we don't have to wait to be close to our God, even though we're waiting to be home with our God. So, can you share a testimony? Where is the most outrageous place that you've ever prayed? Share that in the comments down below. That would be great to encourage all of us. And if you could encourage somebody else and share this video, like, subscribe. And if you want to see all 5 parts of this series together, check it out in this playlist right here.